is what y'all gonna get today. Welcome, welcome, welcome in as I get all my stuff up here. What's up, y'all? Happy Monday. Bear with me as I get all my stuff together. And I'm dropping stuff. Just a second, y'all. What's up, y'all? What's up? What's up? What's up? What's up? I'm excited about tonight. It's a great topic. One that we talk about a lot. So this is going to be a bit different from maybe what you're expecting. But I'm excited to discuss it tonight. We're talking about stress. Why are we stressed? And really digging in and understanding the reasons why. We're not going to talk about the common stuff, right? We're not going to talk about the stuff that we already know is stressing us out, like our finances, right? Or our jobs, relationships, our kids, right? A lot of those things are going to be common. And a lot of those things are going to be ones that are going to be things that we understand. I want to talk about the spaces of stress or the symptoms of stress that we may be experiencing that are not so obvious or not so noticeable. We know our kids gonna stress us out. Okay, we already know that. We know our jobs, especially corporate America, is gonna stress us out. We are to expect that, right? But I do have 5 reasons you may be stressed and not necessarily know or be as conscious of. So that's what we're going to talk about. This live is going to be heavy with reflections. So I have a lot of reflection questions that you can write down. And then we have a declaration at the end versus a list of affirmations. So again, I'm excited. I hope this is helpful. I hope this brings some form of awareness, because one thing about stress is that it can be silent. It can be something that we don't necessarily pay attention to. Again, it's something that can be subconscious. So yeah, I want to give you at least 5 reasons that you may be stressed that you aren't thinking about or don't know. Okay. So again, if this is your first time, my name is Debbie. I'm a certified mindfulness coach. This channel is about all things wellness and mental health. We talk about all variations, whether it be coping skills or practical coping skills, mindfulness techniques, meditation, affirmations, all of those things. So feel free, if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe, make sure to like the live, make sure to share the live with anyone that you think that can benefit from it. And this live is live every Monday at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. We do different topics based off of what's voted on. This was a poll from, I think, 2 weeks ago. We did coping skills last week, and this is kind of a follow-up to that. So if you haven't watched the coping skills live from last week, make sure to go check that out as well. And let's dive in, y'all. There's a lot to cover, okay? Hi, Mina. Welcome in. I don't know what all of this is at the bottom. Just a second. And let me make sure that I got all my stuff up here. Okay, awesome. So let's dive in, y'all. So 5 reasons you may be stressed that you don't know about, okay? Number 1, and this is going to be probably a little obvious, but not as obvious, and that's basically you're subconsciously overwhelming yourself, right? There's a subconscious belief. I'm going to turn this down a little bit. There's a subconscious belief or thought pattern that you may be having or experiencing that is causing stress that you're not aware of. So those subconscious things may be, or conscious, they could be conscious as well, is like procrastination, perfectionism, imposter syndrome. We've done videos on all of those. Carrying the emotional labor of other people, so taking on the offense of others, and then now you're carrying their stress or their energy. Decision or problem solving fatigue. So sometimes, especially if you're a leader, like say you are a leader at work, and then you're a leader at home, and then you're maybe a leader in like your social spaces and your friendships, you're the strong one, right? When you are in that space, you get to a sense of problem solving fatigue or decision making fatigue, to the point where you're so exhausted from making decisions and from problem solving that now it creates a new stress on your emotional state as well as on your body. So problem solving decision fatigue, grieving something you haven't named or did not even, and it's not even just about grieving a person or a situation, but also grieving situations that didn't turn out the way that you expected it to be, and you're still trying to push through those things, or trying to push through whatever you're feeling. And those ignored or avoided emotions are weighing on you heavier than you may think. So those are some subconscious, overwhelming spaces. Let me make sure I'm not missing anything. Giving and receiving is imbalanced. So you're in relationships or several relationships, whether it be with family or friends, where you're giving more than you're receiving. That can be exhausting, and create stress on you or your body, or just you mentally, not really knowing it. Living outside of your values. So if you have certain values, but you're living a different way, you have a conflict of values in your actions. We talk about values all the time on this channel, but that could also create some hidden exhaustion or hidden stress. Overcommitted or too accessible. So if you're overcommitted in your relationships, or overcommitted at work, or overcommitted in anything, or you're making yourself too accessible to people, right? That in itself can be an underlining exhaustion, underlining stress, right? So that is there another one? I think that was the last one. Another one would be avoidance. If you are hyper avoidant in situations, that underlining stress of that avoidance can create that stress, and come out. Hi, Bunny. Hi, Bunny's World. Welcome in. But that avoidance can come out in other ways, to where it creates this stressful environment that you were not expecting. Okay, so that was point number one: subconsciously overwhelming yourself by either doing any of these things or having any of these experiences. But also know that oftentimes we find ourselves stressed because we have a situation that becomes so overwhelming that we avoid it to cope. Unfortunately, that avoidance creates a level of unspoken uncertainty, right? Sometimes we get so addicted to certainty, to where if we are now having situations in a time and a season in our life where a lot of things are uncertain, that can create this level of avoidance, that now we are avoiding everything. And in that's creating more stress, right? We're avoiding, for example, we're avoiding paying our bills, right? Because of the fact that we're having financial issues, so we just don't pay anything, right? Or we're avoiding just people in general. So then now we are secluding ourselves to the point where now we feel depressed because we don't have that interaction. So that hyper avoidance can then in turn, make a more stressful life that we weren't necessarily expecting. So that was number one, subconsciously overwhelming ourselves. Let me see here. Let's see. I'm not talking about relationships, hon. I'm just talking about stress in general. So we're going to go ahead and block some folks. Okay. All right. So that was number one. Number two of a reason that you may be stressed and don't necessarily know why. Attempting to control people, situations that you can't control. So attempting to control people or situations that you know or you may not know can't control, right? So many times we find ourselves stressed because we're carrying the responsibility that doesn't belong to us. Okay? We're carrying a responsibility that we take on from other people or that other people put on us. Okay? So, understanding that there has to be some level of differentiation of, is this something that I can control? And is this something I cannot control? And really being intentional about exploring that on a consistent basis, because that element of control can kind of sneak in because of the fact that we may hide it through, I just want the best for people, or I care about people, or I care about a particular situation. And many times it's the opposite. We're looking to find ways to support our own guilt or to try to avoid our own discomfort or avoid our own disappointments or to avoid our own discouragement, right? And in that, we make these attempts to control situations or control people, and then therefore create our own exhaustion and stress. And that's tough, right? So it's a matter of understanding that I can't control people, I can't control situations. All I can control is myself. And when you're able to put most of your focus on that, not to say that you don't want to influence others, because there's a difference between influence and control, right? I can maybe be a positive, example, which can influence someone else's decision making or can influence someone else's directions or actions and behaviors, but we'll never be able to control them. So when thinking about your own stress, you want to understand, hey, based off of the stress that I'm experiencing, is this showing up in a form of control, right? Am I trying to control a situation that I have no control over? Am I trying to control a person that I, of course, have no control over? And the more that you're able to become more aware of that, the more that you'll be able to make different decisions associated with those people or situations. Okay. Hi, 93 Love. Welcome in. So when it comes to that, that's number 2, right? Attempting to control people, situations you can't control. Let me make sure I'm not missing anything with that one. Yeah, that just kind of goes back to like trying or attempting to manage people's reactions, emotions, decisions, and outcomes. That can create a lot of stress, especially when dealing with people. We want to make sure that they are going to react a certain way, or we don't want to hurt someone's feelings, or, we don't want to have people make bad decisions. And because of their decisions, we personally know that it may not be good for them, but ultimately it's their decision. And we try to, control those things, and it's just never going to work. It's just going to create more stress, y'all. Make sure I'm not missing anything else there before we go to number 3. Let me know if there's any questions in the comments. If this is resonating, if this is something that you've been dealing with, even based off of number 1 and number 2, let me know in the comments if this is something that you feel you may be dealing with right now. I think I got everything. Yes, we got everything. Yeah, we talked about a difference between influence and control. So yeah, that was number 2. Number 3, good evening. Hello, Hector. Number 1, yes. So number 1 was, this is the top 5 reasons you may be stressed and don't know. Number 1 was you're subconsciously overwhelming yourself. So through things such as procrastination, perfectionism, imposter syndrome, carrying emotional labor, there may be pieces of us that we're overwhelming ourselves to an extent that it's creating stress, not realizing it. So that was number 1. And number 2 was attempting to control people and situations you can't control. So understanding that uh, when you're in these situations with people, when you're in these situations or with these certain relationships and people, when we attempt to control those situations or people, that actually creates more stress because it's going to be a never ending spinning wheel. We're never going to be able to control people. We just allow people to do what they're going to do, and then we decide whether we want to continue to participate versus the other way around. So that was number 2. So number 3, that's you, Hector. Definitely understand. It's a common human experience to try to, control these different situations, as well as just to have like this subconscious, overwhelming things that we're trying to do. It's a common human experience. It just comes with awareness. Once we're able to really like pinpoint like what's happening, then we'll be able to make changes. So that was number 2. Number 3, difficulty navigating the difference between a desire and an expectation. Okay. Difficulty navigating the difference between a desire and expectations. So, yes, desires and expectations can go hand in hand, right? They can definitely cross each other. It comes down to when we start to take desires and really put an expectation of a must on a desire, and then put a not so much of a must on an expectations. That's when things start to get misconstrued, which can then create more stress. So let me give you an example. A desire may be, I want to have, or I want to be married by a certain, I want to have a new partner. I want to find love. That would be a desire, right? I want to find love, and that's something that I want to have as a part of my life at some point, right? That's a desire. An expectation would be, I want to find love and I will have a new partner by X and X date, yada, yada, yada. And that's a must. That must happen, right? The way that it becomes stressful is that that's not necessarily something that you can control 100%, right? That's something that there's so many nuances within it. To put a time limit on it can create a stress that you don't necessarily need to create, especially when it comes to, even when thinking about just women in general and us having our ticking time clock, right? When we're wanting to have a baby. Yes, there's a time limit on it, but some people take it to the extreme where they're like, okay, well, at 25, I need to be married and I need to have a baby. I need to do this and I need to do that. And when that doesn't happen, it creates this high level of disappointment and frustration and resentment. Whereas if there was a differentiation between, okay, this is a desire, this is something that I want, and when it comes to me, and it will come to me, versus I want this to come to me at this date and this time, and if it doesn't happen, then all of the world is going to fall apart, right? So understanding the difference between the two and putting those things in the right buckets can make all of the difference when it comes to stress, or stress that you have that is underlining that you're not even thinking about. So that's on that side. The caveat to that is that we may have something that should be an expectation as just a desire. So for taking the same example, you're, in a relationship, and it should be an expectation for your partner to love you, to care for you, to take care of your well-being. That's an expectation. But because we don't want to lose what we have, that then shifts to a desire, to where now we're trying to force the person to love us. We're trying to force the person to be this thing, and they're not that, and they've never showcased that, but we're trying to force the situation. So now an expectation has turned into a desire in a relationship, to where it should have actually been an expectation. Okay? So just understanding that having a desire and expectations and having those things in the right buckets is important, because if it's not, it creates unnecessary stress that you otherwise would not have had if we've identified what these things should be. Okay, let me know if there's any questions on that. You won't be finding love anymore. I mean, hey, I mean, ultimately, there are, situations where people don't necessarily want love. That's more so of just an example, but yeah, that's definitely, something that people can have in their heart. Like, hey, I don't even. That's not even what I'm looking for. Let me make sure. Okay, so that was number 3. Understanding and navigating the difference between desires and expectations. Let me make sure I'm not missing anything here. I think I had some definitions. Desires are wishes or strong wants for something, while expectations are the belief or certainty that those desires must come true. Then desires create passion and hope, and expectations can create disappointments and bitterness, but also expectations are boundaries, right? Having a certain boundary, you need to communicate those boundaries, right? But having those boundaries are important. But sometimes we have a desire as a boundary, and it just kind of creates this whole rigidity, the rigid aspect of I have to have it this way, and it's black and white, and if it doesn't happen this way, then it's at the end of the world. And it's a matter of understanding that desires and these things may happen, but they're going to happen in their own time, and they may not happen in the way that you intended them to happen. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Hi, Dean, welcome in. So just keep that in mind, right? Difficulty navigating the difference between desires and expectations. Number 4. The number 4 reason you may be stressed and don't know is that you're highly focused on distractions rather than the real issues. You're highly focused on distractions rather than the real issues. Okay? So just because you're busy doesn't always equal to productivity. Okay? And sometimes we engulf ourselves with busy work that doesn't necessarily mean anything. It's just a matter of you staying distracted from the actual realities of what's happening. Okay? So, we're just distracted by minor details or the things that don't matter. It's a matter of being distracted by decision avoidance, right? There may be times where we have to make a lot of decisions, and just like we said earlier about decision fatigue, because we have so many decisions to make, and they're decisions that we don't necessarily want to make, we end up avoiding those decisions and then distracting ourselves from those decisions. So we may be avoiding setting a boundary, avoiding a conversation that we need to have, avoiding a truth, avoiding a change, avoiding a habit, or avoiding a relationship shift or change, right? And the distraction overloads your mind while the issue overloads your heart, right? So you're having an overwhelm in the mind with the distraction. You're having an overwhelm in the heart or in the soul or in the spirit because of the actual issue. And those two things are happening simultaneously. And because of that, now it's created an extreme overwhelm in your mind and in your body. Whereas if our focus would therefore shift back to the actual issue and solving the issue, the stress of the distraction disappears. Okay? So just understanding that goes back to like overwhelming ourselves, right? That goes back to number 1, us overwhelming our nervous systems to a point where we're doing it subconsciously, which makes it even more difficult to manage and navigate. So again, it just comes with awareness, so that way you're able to make different decisions. That was number 4. Hold on, let me make sure I'm not missing anything in number 4. Yeah, that's pretty much it. And the distractions can be anything, right? Could be scrolling on social media, binge watching TV or movies, working, over shopping, overeating, even helping others. Some people spend their lives helping others and then not spending any time helping themselves. Mindless snacking or partying, or even any addictions. This is a lot of times where addictions come into play, right? So keeping that in mind, that distractions can be just as stressful as the thing. And when you have both present, that can create this huge feeling of stress and overwhelm. Okay. That was number 4. Yes, overworking, working a lot can definitely do that. Starting projects, like starting a lot of projects at the same time, right? Where, you're getting so overwhelmed that you're trying to distract yourself with so many other things. And then you've started all these projects and none of them get finished. And that's another thing. So that was number 4. Number 5, you subconsciously taught yourself that stress is comfortable. You subconsciously taught yourself that stress is comfortable. Okay. We've normalized it, especially in the US. We've normalized stress to where we feel like or see chaos as normal or regular or average, rather than it being abnormal or not good, right? So we subconsciously taught ourselves that what is it? I work better under pressure, right? I can do it by myself. It only gets done right if I do it, right? These things that we have told ourselves over and over and over again is the cycle of us continuing the normalization of stress. Okay. And stress is the most silent killer, right? When you think about even when we think about the US and the highest rates of death and why people are dying, a lot of it is associated with stress. It's coming from heart issues, chronic heart issues, right? High blood pressure, stroke, right? All of these things. I wonder, actually, I want to Google that. What is the leading killer? I want to Google that. Sorry. Just don't mind me. Let's see what it says. Because, let's see, health issues. Heart disease is the leading killer in the US, followed by cancer, and then unintentional injuries. Of course, a few years ago, COVID, but heart disease was number 1, cancer was number 2, unintentional injuries is number 3, stroke was number 4, and then lower respiratory diseases was number 5. But a lot of these things I'm just reading some of the others, but a lot of these things are linked to stress. Looks like Alzheimer's is up at the top. Intentional self-harm related to stress, y'all. And then like homicide. Okay. So yeah. So like a lot of these top leading killers, and this is just the US, but this is the top leading in the US, and a lot of these are associated to stress. I want to see this is the CDC website. So this is probably as of 2024. It doesn't say. 2023, that's old. I wonder what it is this year. Anywho, sorry y'all, I went on a little tangent, but I say all that to say is that a lot of times the stress that we're experiencing is not even something that we consciously are aware of, and it's something that we teach ourselves is okay, right? So that that makes it even more difficult, right? To be aware of. Let's see here. What else do I have here? Stress feels familiar. Calm feels foreign or uncomfortable. Some people say that they don't like silence, that silence is loud, right? Um, and that is scary because that means that you need even if you feel like you need background noise, right? If you feel like you need to go to sleep with the TV on, if you feel like you need to have like all of these different, things or noise to actually help you to, navigate the day. And I say that as somebody that needs a lot of that. um, Understanding that to find ways to be more comfortable in a calmer state, because that now allows you to know that your body is always in a stress state. Your body's default state is stress. That's scary, right? So finding a way to regulate and to regulate your nervous system and to be more comfortable with calm, um, is important. And it's something that we subconsciously have been have taught ourselves, or just have been taught based off our own culture, because our culture operates the same way. Of course, it may depend on, where you're from, where you grew up, your parents, your childhood, right? If you grew up in the inner city versus if you grew up in rural areas that may be moving, at a slower pace, versus someone that maybe was raised in New York in the hustle and bustle of the city, is just normal for them. Their, stress levels maybe look, their stress tolerance, their resilience, a lot of that stuff may look very different. Okay. I already mentioned stress being a default state. The other thing here too is that many times we connect stress to our identity or work ethic. Okay. So we connect stress to our identity or work ethic, right? I get things done. I'm the strong one, right? I'm the most dependable. Okay. I work long hours. Like, a lot of times we wear that as a badge of honor. And because of that, it then over time becomes a part of who we are as a person. And it makes it more difficult for us to make changes to our lives that are actually very stressful, because it's not just what we do, it's who we are as a person. Okay. So it's about also making the disconnection from, this stressful state is not just, it's not who I am, right? It's not who I am as a person. It's just a state of mind that I am in now that I want to try to disconnect from. Okay. Um, Other things that we may be thinking, we confuse peace and rest for laziness, right? So thinking about your core beliefs of stress versus, calm, or stress versus self-care, or stress versus rest. What are the cognitions? What are the things that you tell yourself? Oh, don't be lazy, if you're sitting down and taking a break for 15 minutes. Is that something that you say to yourself? Is it something that you've heard said to you? Oh, you're lazy, oh, you're lazy, or oh, you're lazy when you're younger. Now as an adult, you took that voice of whoever said that to you, and now that's become your own voice, and now you're telling yourself that you're lazy, right? So now that's creating stress in the body because of the fact that you sat down for 15 minutes and now you're telling yourself that you're lazy, right? So just thinking about your own cognitions and how you think about stress yourself, right? Confusing peace and rest with laziness, or self-care with weakness, right? Do you see you needing a break as a form of weakness? Do you see you, needing a break as a bad thing, right? So how do I think about resting? How do I think about breaks? How do I think about, calm, right? How do I think about peace? And what are the things that I actually tell myself when when I try to do those things, right? And journaling them. What are you saying to yourself? Write it out. When you read it, you might be like, ooh, that sounds horrible that I talk to myself that way. And it may not be easy for you to write those things down. But once you are able to write it down and really see how you speak to yourself when you're in those moments of calm, or when you're in those moments of peace or laughter or fun or relaxation, write down what that is and start working on shifting those narratives that you tell yourself. Because at the end of the day, and I say this all the time, rest is also productive, right? Filling your cup is necessary. If you have a cup of water and you go to drink that water and all of the water is gone, you're going to go in the kitchen, and if you're still thirsty, and you're going to pour more water in the cup and you're going to drink the water again. We have to do the same thing for ourselves. If we notice that our cup is empty, we can't keep trying to drink from an empty cup. You can't turn it over and tap on the back and try to get more water out. It's just not going to happen. You got to go in the kitchen and fill yourself up. So fill your cup up. So now you have to think within myself, I have to go fill myself up in order for me to continue to drink from the fountain, or in order for me to continue to drink from the cup. Okay? So keep that in mind. Make sure I'm not missing anything else. Another thing is, and this goes back to expectations, we expect chaos wherever we go, right? We go through life with the expectation that there's going to be chaos or that things are going to be chaotic, right? We go into every situation. Oh, this is going to be stressful. Oh, this is going to be terrible. Oh, this is going to be awful, right? We're going to work and we're feeling that way. We're coming home and we're feeling that way. We're going to our family's house or our parents' house and we're feeling that way. And we're telling ourselves, chaos, 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 right? And if you continue to expect chaos wherever you go, you're going to find chaos wherever you go. So think about the narrative that you tell yourself when you go into spaces. Are you subconsciously or consciously telling yourself to expect stress, right? Are you going into, especially when you're thinking about home and work, because that's where you spend most of your time. So if you're going to work and you're always expecting stress, and then you're coming home and ultimately expecting stress, then we wonder why we're stressed. So understanding that our expectations could be something that we're manifesting in our lives and we don't know it, right? So take notice if you are hyper vigilant, right? If you're really expecting all of these spaces to be very stressful, and ask yourself why, okay? Is it a valid thought, right? Is there validity when you're thinking about this stress? And if so, is that stress associated with the environment? Is it associated with a person? Is it associated with just the work or the activity that you're doing, right? Because it may not actually be the environment, it may be the activity that you're doing, right? So some people may find social situations more stressful just because of the fact that they're more introverted. They don't really like to be around a lot of people. So that level of stress may be higher for that person than someone that is more of an extrovert and they thrive off of energy of other people. So just get an understanding and get some awareness of how that shows up for you in the narrative that you tell yourself. Yes, it is there, and there is no escaping it. There is a big part of, and that's why I'm not talking about the obvious stuff, right? I'm not talking about, we know that there's going to be some level of stress with being around people to some extent. But if you have an expectation that that's going to happen whenever and wherever you go, it makes you hyper vigilant to where there's stress where there doesn't have to be, right? So it just takes, it's definitely something that you want to keep in mind, but also, like you said, understand that there is going to be some levels of stress associated with, everything that we do. So yeah, we're going to go ahead and remove people. Okay. So that was number 5, y'all. Number 1 was subconsciously overwhelming yourself. Number 2 was attempting to control people's situations you can't control. Number 3, difficulty navigating the difference between desire and expectations. Number 4, highly focused on distractions rather than the real issues. And then number 5, we've subconsciously taught ourselves that stress is comfortable. Okay. So I'm just going to go through and I have some reflection questions that you can take away. If you have a journal, feel free to write these down. Um, did I just read something? What do you mean? Um, uh, I'm reading my notes, if that's what you're asking. Are you asking what I'm reading? If you're asking what I'm reading my notes. So I take notes for our sessions. Okay, so that was number 1 through 5. So reflection questions. Yes, go ahead and grab. No problem. It's okay. Go ahead and grab a journal if you want to take these down. And in the message board. I don't see I didn't use my message board. Oh, wait. I think I'm pressing stuff that I shouldn't. Yeah, I think I just pressed something that I shouldn't, y'all. So, hey, it's there now. No problem. Hey, we're here now. Green screen. Okay, so reflection questions. Number 1, what am I pretending doesn't bother me? It was removed? Okay. What am I pretending doesn't bother me? You can put your question in the comments if you wish to. That was number 1. What am I pretending doesn't bother me? Number 2, what am I afraid might fall apart if I slow down? What am I afraid might fall apart if I slow down? Okay. That was number 2. Number 3, where is my yes costing me peace? Where is my yes costing me peace? Okay. Yeah, that was bothering me, y'all. That was bothering me. Okay. Where is my yes costing me peace? Next one. What are the stressful pieces of my life that I am ignoring or avoiding? What are the stressful pieces of my life that I am ignoring or avoiding? I'll say that one more time because that's a longer one. What are the stressful pieces of my life that I am ignoring or avoiding? Okay. Next one. What am I pretending to not know or understand about my life? What am I pretending to not know or understand about my life? I'll do that one more time because that is a little bit of a longer one. What am I pretending to not know or understand about my life? Next one. What has my body been trying to tell me? Our body speaks a lot before our mind does sometimes. Our body will show us that we're breaking down, or that we need support, or that we need help, or that we're stressed, or that we're frustrated or confused, right? So this is just a matter of really thinking about, hey, when I'm stressed, what happens to my body? Do I feel hot? Do I get get flushed? Do I turn red? Do I, what actually happens when I'm stressed? So what has your body been telling? What has my body been trying to tell me? Next one, what am I carrying that isn't mine to carry? What am I carrying? Yes, migraines, definitely headaches, Just feelings of exhaustion when you didn't really do anything, like waking up exhausted or fatigued. Yes. Um, what am I carrying that isn't mine to carry? That isn't mine to carry. And that's really emotional, right? What emotions or feelings did I take on from, a conversation that I had earlier today, right? What conversations did I walk away from, or what situations did I walk away from where I've basically taken on the energy of someone else, and took it on as my own, right? What am I carrying that isn't mine to carry? A lot of times that comes with like guilt or shame or even embarrassment, right? Or feelings of embarrassment because of whether it's something that happened to you or happened to someone else, and then you walk away with that even secondhand embarrassment. That some people process that fine, and it goes on they go on their way, but sometimes secondhand embarrassment can linger, right? And create emotions that you weren't expecting to create. So that was I think we have two more. Yeah, what am I carrying that isn't mine to carry? What distractions am I using to avoid the real issues? What distractions am I using to avoid the real issues? I'll say that one more time. What distractions am I using to avoid the real issues? And then, oh wait, I have two more. I lied. I thought, oh wait, no, I got a few more. Oh, dang, Debbie. I had a lot. Okay. That's why I only did one declaration at the end. Okay, so so the next one, what conversations or boundaries am I postponing? That's a good one, y'all. What conversations or boundaries am I postponing? Sometimes we create stress because we just don't want to face the conversation, or we don't want to have the conversation, or we don't want to set the boundary. We don't want to hurt people's feelings. So therefore, instead of us hurting the other person's feelings, we hurt our own and then end up frustrated, confused, bewildered, run amok. Okay. But what conversations or boundaries am I postponing? Next one, what part of calm feels uncomfortable for me? That's a good one. What part of calm, or what pieces of calm, feel uncomfortable for me? Are you uncomfortable with relaxing? Is that actually cause discomfort? Are you most uncomfortable when it's time to go to bed? Do you feel a sense of anxiety when it's time to go to sleep? Right? Like really thinking about what areas of or pieces of relaxation or self-care or anything along the lines of relaxation feels uncomfortable, right? Some people feel like they can't just sit and do nothing for any period of time. Why? Right? Is there always have to be something happening? Why can't you just sit in the present and in the moment? Right? So just understanding that if that sounds like you, I would definitely explore that question. What emotions have I been too busy to feel? What emotions have I been too busy to feel? Okay, bring some awareness on the emotions that you're avoiding or that you just feel too busy to even address, right? It's definitely a difficult aspect, right? Because most likely those emotions that you're too busy to feel are going to be difficult emotions. Not necessarily. I mean, some people don't like to stop and smell the flowers too, but most of the time, those emotions are going to be difficult ones. So really think about when I get these feelings or emotions, do I get the busiest? Um, I talk to myself. Ain't nothing wrong talking to yourself. We all do that. It's like I feel there's always something productive I could be doing. Yes, yes. That's definitely a conditioning that and I've been there, right? I feel like I have to be doing something. And if I'm not doing something, I'm wasting time, right? But I I had to shift my thought process as to what relaxation really is, and changing the narrative of relaxation is doing nothing to relaxation is doing something. You are relaxing. That actually is something that you are doing. And in order for you to um, shift that narrative, it's not going to be something that's going to happen overnight, because it's something that's conditioned. It's either something that's conditioned in you or through you or both, right? And so just really taking the time to trick your brain to think about things in a different way. So I had to trick my brain to say, because I was that same one, I was the same person, like, hey, like, I don't want to just be sitting and doing nothing. I actually could be doing something right now. Instead of that, saying, actually, I am doing something right now. I'm relaxing. And relaxation is also productive, right? Because in order for me to do the other productive things, or the things that I deem as productive, in order for me to do those things, I need to rest, right? For me to be able to be at my highest performance for those things that I want, that I call productive, I have to have rest. And rest is also a thing, right? So keeping that in mind, off my soapbox. And this is the last one. This is the last reflection question. Where's my life out of alignment with my values? Where is my life out of alignment with my values? Where is my life out of alignment with my values? At the end of the day, if your life is out of alignment with the things that you care about most and that you value the most, you're going to be stressed. You're going to be stressed mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, if your life isn't aligned with the things that you find important, that you deem to be valuable. It's going to create a continued internal conflict. And when you have a conflict internally like that, that is tormenting, right? And if you have that conflict to the point where it's tormenting, you're going to be stressed, even when things on the outside is not stressful, right? There may be situations or seasons in your life where everything is going good, relationships good, family's good, job is good, career is good, friends are good, pets is good. I look good, I smell good, everything is good, and you still feel an element of stress. That's many times internal conflict. There's something there, right? So where is my life out of alignment with my values is crucial and important. And you may not even know what you value, right? This is the time to, if you don't know, really take the time to understand what your values are and start aligning your life with that. And in that alignment, things and people may fall off, things and people may come, but that's a part of the process. And understanding that once you are more aligned, it's not even about being fully aligned, because we're not perfect, right? But once you are more aligned with the things that are most important to you and that you value and that you care about and that you're passionate about, right? The more that you will be able to manage stress better. Because when you have values, it's easier for you to make decisions. It's easier for you to set boundaries. It's easier for you to spot trash, right? Because of the fact that you understand, like, okay, this is what I value. There's people and situations in my life that are not necessarily what align with those things. And so now I can remove those things more easily because I know what I value and what I care about. So value work is something that I feel like is crucial and important for everyone to do, because once you know those things, everything else kind of falls in line. I'm just tired of starting over every time things don't go right. Okay. Yeah, and I would challenge you to think about it in a way to where it's not necessarily starting over, because of the fact that you already have an establishment of some things and you've already lived a life to an extent, I would challenge you to think about it in a way to where instead of starting over, maybe realigning. Okay. Maybe thinking of it in a way to where, am I really starting all the way over, or am I just adjusting or realigning to something new? Because one thing about life is going to be about cycles, and you may find yourself back at one sometimes. But when it comes to starting over or starting new, or that feeling of starting over or starting new, there's there's an element of uncertainty on the other side of that, and that's what creates that guilt, or that creates that feeling of being lost. Yeah, no, I can understand that. I can understand that. And it's more so of thinking about it in a way to where, and it's kind of like what I was talking about earlier about tricking your brain, and rewiring your brain, and finding ways to um, retell the story, or to create the new narrative, right? And even if it does really feel like, okay, I'm really starting over, coming to an element of acceptance and fueling a way of excitement, right? And I say excitement as far as, what are the possibilities? Because sometimes when you think about starting over, or the feeling of starting over, that's actually an opportunity to create the life that you now know that you can have, or creating a life or a new life that you can have, right? Um, and sometimes we want to create the life that we had, right? But is that necessarily what you want? There's a lot of exploration that has to happen when it comes to starting over. I'll say starting over with air quotes, right? There's a lot of exploration, but I would say that's a good time to work with someone in therapy to help you navigate that, because that's not an easy thing to navigate. So I would suggest, honestly, therapy. And I don't say that just because I'm a newer therapist, um, but yeah, I would say that that's something that you really want to speak to someone, speak to someone that doesn't know you, that can give you a perspective that you may not necessarily think about. A lot of starting over, because I mean, I'm not, a lot of starting over, I'm not 58, but I'm 38. And I'm actually in the process of starting over in a different way. Um, you don't trust therapists. I can understand that. It's a matter of finding a therapist that works for you, but you want to think about, well, let me ask you, why don't you trust therapists? And I know that there's reasons why that can happen, and I'm not saying that to be argumentative. I just want to understand, just so that way I can maybe direct you in the right way. And while you do that, I'm gonna give the affirmation and the declaration here, which is going to be the end here. Um, the affirmation or declaration, because I would call it a declaration because it's a little bit longer. I release what is not mine to hold, honor my limits without guilt, and choose peace, clarity, and alignment in this season. I release what is not mine to hold, honor my limits without guilt, and choose peace, clarity, and alignment in this season. One last time. I release what is not mine to hold, honor my limits without guilt, and choose peace, clarity, and alignment in this season. Legal issues. Okay. You there are several ways that you can still go about getting support without it necessarily being like a therapist. Um, mm, because you can also go like the life coaching route too, where you get support from someone that is not necessarily a therapist, but is great at, I feel like coaches are really good at navigating transitions, right? With navigating the now, or navigating what's happening in the now, where therapists are more going to look at a more holistic view. They're going to look at everything. They're going to look at childhood. They're going to look at, your past experiences, past traumas, and things of that matter. They're going to look at it from a clinical lens, whereas a coach is going to just basically have you come in and talk through, what you're currently going through, and help you progress based off of what's currently happening, right? There's different levels to coaches, whether it be like a life coach, emotional resilience coach. They have, there's different types of coaches, but that may be another route. But honestly, I don't know what the legal issues are, but I would say that working through these things in therapy is going to be your best bet. But that's another option. That's understandable. That's understandable. And it's more so with that, you can still speak to a therapist. They're going to tell you what they have to report and what they're not going to report. When it comes to, I don't know what state you're in, because the you can also look up the legal guidelines and ethics guidelines in your state. Because I'm pretty sure with Illinois, there's certain things that we have to report. So if you basically plan to harm yourself, plan to harm someone else, or if there's any type of harm to children, they have to report those things. But they can always, depending, Florida, yeah, I'm not sure. You can always Google what a therapist can and cannot report based off of your state and put in Florida and see what's there. But yeah, they have to legally tell you what they have to report, and then what they can keep confidential. The only thing outside of that is if they get subpoenaed for court, they may have to release their notes. But even in that, I don't know what that is in Florida. Even in that, they're limited into what they would put in notes. There's some things that comes with like clients that I work with that if they tell me certain things that I will or will not put in their notes, just based off of it may be like a huge detail that isn't necessarily necessary to put in notes for their treatment plan. So there's a lot of nuances to that. I would suggest to at least reach out to a therapist, or when looking for a therapist, to ask those questions. And it's totally okay for you to ask those questions. If you ask those questions, that's not necessarily something that they would report, right? If you're very specific, then they may have to report. But if you're asking general questions, then that's something that they wouldn't report. I would definitely suggest that. Oh, because it is Florida, that's why you can't do it. Understood. Well, I would say if you want to do the self-work, you can, but it may be more difficult. I'm telling you, it may be more difficult to navigate it in that way. There's also resources. Each state has their own resources. I would at least look into the resources and see what's there, if you haven't already. I don't want to assume that you haven't. All right, y'all. I hope this was helpful. Trying to make sure I'm not missing anything. We did go through the affirmation and declaration. So yes, I hope this is helpful. Again, if this is your first time, my name is Debbie. I'm a certified mindfulness coach. I'm also a therapist, an emerging therapist. Currently, I'm actually filled now with my caseload. I'm actually filled now with my caseload. So woohoo, yay. When it comes to my internship. So I am, yes, actively seeing clients, but caseload is filled. But But yeah, I hope that this was helpful. I hope that this gave some insight. Um, if you want to learn more about what I do as a mindfulness coach, you can go to haveninspired.com. We do have a newsletter. So if you go to the website and sign up for the newsletter, you'll get an email just once a week, just talking about our topic for the week. You'll also be able to get a free workbook. So there is Yes, so usually I have it to where when you do the newsletter, you'll get an email with the workbook attached. And really, what it has is it just has some worksheets in there for mindfulness. If you're trying to explore meditation a little bit more, if you're looking to just do some self work, there's some things that you can add to that. Thank you, appreciate that. So make sure to check that out. And then again, we do this live every Monday at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. I will post a new poll this week for what we want to talk about next Monday. And let me make sure I'm not missing anything. You should. Will you get new meditations this week? I believe so. You should get some new meditations this week. Last week I posted a meditation on coping skills, and I posted two last week, I think. What did I post last week? I did turn my music down. Yes. So, I did one for caregivers, and then I did one for coping skills. So check this out. Check those out. You will also get some new meditations this week. And if you want a follow up to this week's live, if you want to learn more about coping skills specifically, you can go back to last week's live and watch that. Um, yes, caregivers. Yes. Thank you, Hector, for joining us. I hope tonight was helpful. And if you're looking for just other topics, there are so many topics that I've done lives on. So if there's anything that you're struggling with particularly, feel free to look at the lives. There's a playlist for all the live sessions. And if you don't see something on a topic that you want to talk about, let me know on the poll. I'll post the polls usually on Saturday. Let me know in the poll post, and I'll just put that on a list of topics if you want to hear something different. But there are a lot of live sessions already. I want to say there's like 85 videos on different topics. I'm sorry, this is the first time I'm actually checking this. There's about 85 lives on here. And they're all on different topics: imposter syndrome, loneliness, emotional safety, mindful routines, releasing stress at work, emotional pain, habits that last, or building habits that last, radical self care, 6 steps to moving past rejection, reclaiming your peace, the perfection lie. Why do we need to break up with being perfect? Avoidance, self worth, growth, self discipline. There's a lot of videos. So even if you're just looking for content just to kind of support what's going on now, I might I don't know. I'll look to see if I did one on navigating transitions or starting over. I'll double check and see, and if not, I'll add that to my list. But yeah, that's it, y'all. Lastly, I do events, y'all. So if you are looking for a speaker, if you have a corporate, a company that's looking for support for mindfulness for employees, that's something that I specialize in. So definitely go to haveninspired.com. I do workshops, self-care in the workplace, doing meditation and journaling sessions in the workplace. There's so many different managing burnout in the workplace. So if you are looking to have someone for an event or for a corporate event, let me know. Just shoot me an email at info@haveninspired.com. All right. Thank y'all. Y'all have a great rest of your night. Thank you for watching, and I will see you all next week. Bye.